Welcome back to On Airbnb Football with Brandon and Bryce. Bryce and Brandon, y'all know how it is. Today we're coming at you with our 2024 free agency winners and losers. These are in no particular order. We're just going to list off the losers first, and then we're going to list off the winners and see how it goes. But before we get started, I would like you guys to go ahead and hit that like button for us. Give us a follow, a subscribe, and then share with everybody you know whether they like football or not, because they sure as hell like us. So with that said, Bryce, I think we're going to go ahead and get started. And for the first one, we have the Chargers as our losers. So obviously, everybody saw they lost Keenan Allen, they lost Austin Eckler, Mike Williams. They lost some pieces on defense as well. Maybe not the biggest name guys, but like Kenneth Murray. He left. That could be a big departure. And then not to mention they have, a running head coach and a running OC. We'll see how Justin Herbert fares with that. I mean, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, you named everybody that they lost on offense. Offensive wise, they have no one. They got rid of everybody.
They got the Gus Bus.
I mean, their defense wasn't good to begin with, and I mean, they somehow kept Khalil Mack and Joey Bosa, but they kept both of them. They restructured their contracts, but yeah, you nailed it with them losing those key offensive pieces, which is going to really hurt them this year.
Well, the craziest thing to me is, like you mentioned, they got their key defensive players back, like Derwin James and Joey Bosa and Khalil Mack. And it seems like every year they have a great defense on paper.
Yeah.
And it's never good.
They have great players, but it's just
how do they not work together? I don't get it.
I don't know. They'll get their sacks, but like they don't have a good interior defense. They don't have good linebackers. They have good name corners too.
They really do,
but it just doesn't translate.
I think they got Christian Fulton too. Recently, so we'll see.
Yeah, I don't know.
As a Chiefs fan, I've heard every year that it's the Chargers' year.
It's definitely not gonna be there.
I definitely don't feel like it is this year. They might be a year or two out.
Yeah,
but
no one's gonna fear the Chargers this year at all.
Exactly. Moving on. So next up, we have the Denver Broncos as our next losers, simply because the only real weapons they have on offense, I would say, are they got Courtland Sutton.
I really like Courtland Sutton. I think he's a good player, but
he's good. He's not an elite receiver, I wouldn't say.
No, he's not elite, but he's very consistent when he's on the field.
He is very consistent.
He makes some really good contested catches.
What about Javonte? I mean, it's his second year coming back from the ACL.
Yeah, he was a really big letdown last year. So I don't know how I feel about him. I don't
know. I mean,
you're gonna have to see how he does this year, especially with them not having a quarterback there. They're gonna bring in a rookie.
They might go up
back probably.
Yeah, DJ McCarthy maybe.
Yeah, so I don't know what they're gonna do. They're gonna want to run the football because I mean, what else are they gonna do?
Well, Sean Payton. That's Sean Payton.
Yeah,
I think they'll draft a running back as well, probably. And he loves his running backs.
Yeah,
he likes a dual threat backfield.
That would help Javonte a lot because he was better there when Melvin Gordon was there.
He was.
But I mean, he's also trying to win the job when he was there.
Right.
Now that he had
his ACL.
Which I mean, that is a big injury to come back,
especially for a running
back to live up to or get back to what he was before.
Right.
But yeah, they lost. They traded away Jerry Jeudy, which I don't think is a huge loss. Browns overpaid him.
Obviously, yeah.
Real quick.
Like $50 million guaranteed.
Yeah, release Justin Simmons. I thought that was a little surprising.
Yeah, that's right.
And then they're also paying Russell Wilson $30 million a year to play for the Steelers.
Exactly.
And then they pay him $40 million the next year.
That's huge.
Yeah, and then right now they have Jarrett Stidham starting for quarterback.
Jarrett Stidham has shown
decent backup
flashes, but
yeah,
I don't know. Like he's not as bad as the next quarterback we're going to talk about, but yeah, I mean not to mention they lost. His name's Josie Jewell. He's like a linebacker, edge rusher, kind of hybrid, I would say, and he's very, very good, very elite. I would know these as a Chiefs fan because this is who we struggle against. We always struggle against our division mates. And even with the Broncos' poor offensive play, I guarantee you this year they're going to play us good. So, but as for off-season wise, they're definitely one of the bigger losers, I would say. This is something me and Bryce both agreed on. So, like I said, the next quarterback, he's in the same division. So obviously the three teams in the AFC West, the Raiders are next losers. What do you think of them?
I mean, they did sign Christian Wilkins, which was a huge signing to that defense.
They did.
But other than that, to compete in that division, I mean, they didn't do anything that they
Right,
did.
especially all three of these teams, the Chargers, Broncos, and Raiders.
You have to think you're in the Chiefs division, so you want to compete
against the back-to-back champs.
They just didn't do anything. I mean, I guess they're all rebuilding. I mean, you got to try to win now.
Exactly.
Yeah, of course you want to rebuild. Chargers.
I do
back into there, but.
Right. But I mean, they still have promising pieces on offense. I like Jacoby Myers a lot. Obviously Devontae Adams, he's still a great receiver, if not elite. Still, they lost Josh Jacobs, which some would say last year he didn't have the greatest year. But Zamir White,
I think he'll be good.
He filled the role well.
I think he'll be good actually. But
and
then they got Alexander Madison
and Antonio Pierce. They kept him.
Yeah,
I think that was a decent move for a Chargers. That was a decent move for a Raiders team who's been struggling to keep a head coach since John Gruden. Yeah. Obviously, John Gruden had them up and going. They looked like they were promising, and then he wanted to say some stuff he couldn't, or he shouldn't. Honestly, with the Raiders, I just feel like it's not.
They didn't do enough.
It never feels like the Raiders do enough.
No.
They have no hopes of taking that division, in my opinion.
No, they didn't do enough at all.
Who do you think is the best team out of those three to take the division if the Chiefs don't, obviously, again? But
I would have said the Chargers.
That's what everybody.
But now it's. I mean, the thing is too, like, they took away those pieces, and it's like you could have competed with those and built around just a little bit more, but you kind of reset it even more.
Right.
So it's kind of that was a little confusing.
Kind of backward. They must see something.
None of those teams can compete with the Chiefs now. None of them.
Honestly, like I said, I feel like all of those teams are at least 2 years out.
I think the Raiders compete the most right now. I mean, you have they brought in Minshew. They brought in Minshew.
They're the most physical team.
Yeah,
but I would say the Broncos have the best chance against the Chiefs just because of Sean Payton. Last year we saw Russell Wilson beat us, and it was a beating that we needed. Same thing with the Raiders. We saw them beat us late season, which we needed that. But like I said, the Raiders and the Broncos, they may just be a quarterback away, but the Broncos defense has had probably the most influence on that team through the last few years. They got Pat Surtain. Well, I guess
they don't have a lot of big names on that defense, but they just play very well together. But I mean, you did lose Justin Simmons, who's a big piece in that secondary. So I mean, that's probably going to hurt a little bit back there. But you still have Pat Surtain as a corner, so that's.
He's one of the top corners for sure.
Yeah.
But that'll lead us into our next one. The next team that we got is the Commanders. So let's talk about this for a second. They had the most cap space of any team in the NFL, and they went and got Marcus Mariota. They got rid of Sam Howell. They got Austin Eckler. They got rid of Antonio Gibson. They still have McLaurin and Dotson, who I like, but it's a lot of middling moves, a lot of moves where they didn't really improve, I feel like. Maybe in one or two spots on defense after losing Sweat and Chase Young last year. But overall, it just seems like they're stuck in the same cycle as well. It's like one of those losing franchises who just never gets it together.
Yeah, they just did a bunch of mediocre signings, and to do what with, like, they're of course another rebuilding team. They've been rebuilding for 20 years.
Exactly.
So I mean,
all the fans have to know.
Yeah,
it's gonna go the same way it always has.
I think what they should have done is probably Mariota is a veteran quarterback, but he's not a veteran quarterback that's going to start win you games. Not even win you games, but mentor kind of like a young quarterback coming in that they're going to draft.
Right.
Because they're going to draft a quarterback at 2. You come in, you take that quarterback at 2, you throw him right in there, and he's just going to do what every quarterback at Washington does.
And at minimum, they probably should have kept Sam Howell.
They should have,
instead of trading him to the Seahawks.
I didn't think he had his bad moments last year, but like he could throw the ball around.
Yeah, I mean he just took sacks.
Yeah, and he took some bad throws. But he took chances down the field, got the ball to his receivers.
Right. They were good for fantasy.
Yeah, I mean, hey,
but yeah, for NFL, they weren't good.
Yeah.
Haven't been good. They're not gonna be good. I mean, they might be a little better than they were last year.
Yeah.
Considering that they're the second overall pick. So
yeah, and some people might see like, oh, they signed a bunch of people and whatever, but it's not anybody that is jumping off screen going to make big plays and win you games.
Right. We're gonna keep it in division again. There's 2 divisions that seem like they were pretty bad in off season this year. The Dallas Cowboys. So
they did nothing.
Yeah.
They didn't do anything. They lost Tyron Smith.
I was gonna say that's their biggest loss in my opinion. They lost obviously Michael Gallup. They still got Brandon Cooks, but who probably is a better number 2 than Gallup. But they have Rico Dowdle. They don't have a running back right now, so they're obviously gonna draft one. Honestly, probably with their first overall pick.
Lost Tony Pollard.
So,
I mean, we've discussed how we feel about that.
But Vander Esch retired. Diggs is going to be coming back off an injury.
Yeah.
Took him out last year.
Lost Gilmore.
They lost Gilmore, that's right. But they do have Deron Bland. They still have some good defensive pieces.
Yeah.
DeMarcus Lawrence, Micah Parsons.
Yeah, just you would think in that division in the NFC, you want to compete for a Super Bowl, that they would have made some moves maybe, but they just didn't do anything. Like
I agree.
The Eagles made some moves, and maybe we'll talk about them in a little bit, maybe not. But yeah, the Eagles made some moves, and Cowboys didn't do anything. Like you got to be able to make some moves and want to compete. Like everybody who's trying to win a Super Bowl is making moves, and Cowboys is
the only thing I would have
best offensive lineman. And
right. The only thing I would have to say with the Cowboys is it seems like they consistently produce at least able linemen who can do the job, but
they are really good at producing linemen.
It's going to be the same Cowboys. You know, they compete, they win some games, they get to the playoffs, and then we all know what happens next. We don't even have to say it.
Yeah.
It's not looking up. It's again more of kind of like a lateral move. Just it's the kind of the same team when they lost some good pieces, but it's I feel like it's around the same team.
It is. And then there also came out, and they're not extending Dak also.
Yeah, I actually just released it earlier today, I think.
Yep. So I mean, who knows how that Cowboys team's gonna look this year and moving forward.
Yeah, that'll be crazy. And one more team.
One more team in the NFC East.
Keep it in division. The New York Giants. Now,
they made
I don't
moves,
like this,
but it's
they did. They made some moves. I don't like this particularly because I have some weird undying love for Brian Daboll and maybe a little bit of love for Daniel Jones.
Yeah, I don't know why.
Well,
MVP pick last year.
I have a sentiment for Daniel Jones because of Daboll. Because we saw what Daboll did with Josh Allen over in Buffalo. And then when Daboll left, he didn't do so hot. And I don't know. It's just you saw him develop Josh Allen from a reckless quarterback who looked rough his first year into who he is today. He's still mistake prone, but he has very elite moments, and that's why he's considered the second second best quarterback in the league. But as for the Giants, they lost Saquon. Obviously, that's the move that
biggest
stands
move.
out the
Yeah.
most. They added some linemen, which is a huge need for them. People aren't gonna show enough attention to that, but that'll obviously help out the team. They're still looking for a number 1 overall receiver, and they have been ever since Odell left.
Yeah, I don't know why they can't just
Jalen Hyatt,
they can't figure that out.
Wan'Dale Robinson.
It's not you don't have a number 1 receiver. I mean,
They don't even have.
Yeah.
I mean, Darren Waller might be a number 1 tight end
that's
if he could just
I'd be their number 1 target.
stay healthy.
But-
And then he's talking about retiring. So
Yeah,
it's just you take 1 step forward and 2 steps back with the Giants. Again, with the same thing with the Cowboys, it just seems like another year where they're gonna kind of be in the same position. They may need to let go of Daniel Jones.
yeah. Well, that's what they've been. There's so much drama about that right now.
Do you think they're gonna take a quarterback in this draft?
It's kind of looking like they are.
Because I mean, where are they drafting at?
I believe it's
7, something like that.
no. I think it's actually like 5th or 6th.
Okay.
So it's
Well, it would have to be 6th.
yeah,
The
it's
Chargers are
6th.
5th.
Yeah, so I believe it's 6th.
But either way, I mean, obviously, if they're in the top 10, they have a really good shot at getting J.J. McCarthy. But I feel like Drake May and Jaden Daniels are already going to be gone by that point.
They're 6th. Yep.
Maybe if, they obviously liked Daniel Jones enough to reach on him like they did in that draft. Maybe they like Michael Penix enough to reach in this draft.
That's a little far, but
it's very far. But we didn't think of Daniel Jones like that
no,
when they drafted him in the first place. So you never know with the Giants franchise. They always surprise us. They should have re-signed Saquon, but they didn't. They got Devin Singletary. That's who I was trying to think of.
That's not Saquon.
It's not Saquon, but he's a serviceable back, I feel like.
Yeah.
But things looking down for the Giants.
Yeah.
Next team for our losers section is the Vikings. So
Still have some big pieces.
They still have the best receiver in the league. They still have a great number 2 in Jordan Addison.
Top tight end.
They have, Hawkinson's. He's a top tight end, but he's hurt.
That's
coming
true.
back.
No, you're right.
Late season injury too. And
You're right.
I think I was reading some reports that said he may not be ready for week 1. In that case, Johnny Munt, I think, who they re-signed. But don't have Madison. They have Aaron Jones now, an upgrade in the backfield. But obviously, the move that stands out, no Kirk Cousins.
Yep.
Who Justin Jefferson was very vocal about that he loved.
Got Jefferson the ball a lot. So,
Obviously, you wanted him there.
Yeah, so that was huge that they lost Kirk Cousins. They bring in Sam Darnold, but that's not Kirk Cousins.
What about the defensive side?
Yeah, losing Danielle Hunter was even
that might
even be bigger
because they had a terrible defense last year with him.
Yeah, well, he's the only piece they have. It's the only thing they got.
Harrison Smith, who's 33 years old.
he's still good. He's just getting older, and he's not as good as he used to be. But losing Danielle Hunter,
no KJ.
Yeah, lost KJ Osborne too.
I think he's a Patriot now, right?
Yeah, he went to the Patriots. Yep. Yeah, they just lost 2 big names, which is why they're losers. I mean, you lose your quarterback, and then you lose one of the best defensive players in the league.
Yeah, that'll do it.
I mean, that's on a defense is already bad.
That's enough to get you on the losers list.
Yeah.
The B losers list, and then just to add one more name to this list, who I think Bryce is very strong on them being on the losers list. I am, I'm kind of on the losers list. I'm on the fence a little bit. But obviously the Bills, they lost a lot of people. Micah Hyde, Jordan Poyer, Gabe Davis, Mitch Morse, their lineman, Deontay Hardy, Saron Neal, is that his name? I believe, the defensive back.
Yeah.
But either way, losing all those players, I mean, they finally get under the cap. Maybe they're not there yet, but they had to.
I mean, you pay your quarterback all that money.
The salary cap is real, guys. I mean, I know there's a lot of ways around it, but that shows you right there the Bills team itself.
Yeah, you get rid of your entire defense.
And then they
entire secondary, sorry.
Stuck with Joe Brady, so it's going to be rough for Stephon Diggs. So Diggs still making a bunch of comments, being loud, about how he may or may not want to be a Bill.
Yeah, I think he'll still be there, but
I think he will be too, but reluctantly. I think at this point.
I mean, if they lose again, if they don't get to a Super Bowl, I think he's gone too. But that's for next year. That's for next year.
That's the equivalent of the Steelers having Lev Bell and Antonio Brown and Big Ben and not getting to the Super Bowl.
All right. I'm gonna go cry now.
I know it hurts you, but
it does. But the thing is,
you got an elite team.
Yeah,
you don't do anything with it. I mean, I honestly, if I'm Stephon Diggs, I'd be pretty frustrated too.
Oh yeah, definitely for sure. But I mean, now last year you had that good of a defense, and you still didn't get there. And then you get rid of all those good players, which they are older and they're not in their primes as much.
Right.
But they're still key contributors to your defense, to your secondary, and you just get rid of them. So the Bills definitely now have to rely more on offense for sure now.
Which they got Curtis Samuel, and I think, was it Devontae Parker? Was he a Bill? I'm not sure. But
yeah, I know Curtis Samuel went.
Good piece on that offense. Khalil Shakir.
James Cook they're gonna run through.
They're gonna run a lot.
They're
gonna run him into the ground.
But yeah, losing all those pieces, they're gonna want to score points. But I mean, that's the way the league's going and stuff, which that makes sense. But it's nice to have a defense and guys who can cover.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess we'll see what happens.
What do you think their first draft pick's gonna be? You think they're gonna grab a receiver?
So a lot of draft boards have them picking Chop Robinson, who's a outside linebacker from Penn State. So
they need a lot of defensive pieces.
That's what it was looking like, and he is a good pass rusher. So I mean, hopefully, or not hopefully, but I mean, that's what it's looking like. But we won't know. I mean, it might be secondary now. Might be somewhere in the second. That could be what they were looking at, getting somewhere in the secondary, because they're a late first round pick.
Right.
So
I don't know, continue to be.
Yeah.
Even with all of their losses.
Mm-hmm.
But that is the end of our losers list. We're gonna move on to the winners side. The exciting part. We're gonna roll with the Jets. First off the top, they added the biggest signing of all, Tyrod Taylor. No, I'm kidding. Tyrod Taylor, though, solid backup. Obviously, Zach Wilson.
Who knows where he's going to end up?
But
Chiefs.
They got Mike Williams. They have Morgan Moses, and their biggest signing is absolutely Tyron Smith. The biggest need for them last year was offensive line. Not even just one piece on the offensive line. Pretty much every guy on that line was terrible. And, Rodgers, it might have been a good thing that they took Rodgers out the fourth play into the season.
Yeah, because it was rough.
Because Zach Wilson felt the pain the rest of the year. So, I don't know. Yeah. I see, obviously, you see the Jets being really nice this year.
I do. I really like what they did with these, some of their moves, especially going line in free agency. That frees up kind of what you can do in the draft. Maybe you get Brock Bowers now. So,
they could.
I mean, you added linemen.
Even aside from Tyron Smith, they added a lot of pieces, which is just depth, if anything.
Yeah, and then you also had, like you said, added Mike Williams too, so they don't need to really go wide receiver.
Right.
So, I mean, you get an elite tight end pass catcher. You got linemen to protect you. I mean, they could be really dangerous. That defense is really, really good. So, yeah, I really like the Jets.
Yeah, the only thing with the Jets is it all rides on Aaron Rodgers' shoulders.
He's gonna play good still.
I think he will be good. He still has the decision making of Aaron Rodgers, so that alone will be an upgrade.
I mean, it's not his arm that went down.
It's Zach Wilson. We get that, but it's also been a full season since we last saw him, and his last season in Green Bay. Don't forget, he had pretty much the same offense as Jordan Love did,
Yeah.
and Jordan Love went further.
Okay.
Now he's a
yeah.
younger, more promising guy, but if Rodgers can come back and look, even honestly, if he comes back and looks like he did his last year on the Packers, they'll be a great team. They could
Yeah.
win that
But
division.
the thing is, too, you can ride through Brees Hall where you like.
That's what I was gonna say. Is Brees Hall is the one spot where you need to run him into the ground, and then if not, you got Israel Abanikanda. So, good backup. I feel like at least we have yet to see a whole lot of him, but they got a pretty good receiving core. Garrett Wilson, Mike Williams, Alan Lazard is a third.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just familiar company for Rodgers. So
yeah, for sure.
I'm with you on that. I get why you like the Jets to win the division.
Yeah, they look good.
So next team on the board for our winners section is the Blitzburg Steelers, baby.
Heck yeah, baby.
Getting Patrick Queen to pair with TJ Watt. I'm gonna let you speak on this, Mr. Steelers fan.
Thank you. Oh, you want me to start with Patrick Queen?
You start wherever
I want. All right, let's start at the most important position in football. Let's talk about getting
punter.
Well, we did get a punter though. We did. We signed Cameron Johnston as a punter, so I mean we got punter. So let me go to Mr. Unlimited.
Mr. Unlimited.
That's right.
You didn't want to go with your wife's favorite in Derek Watt.
Well, Derek Watt's not on the team.
It's a terrible loss for you guys.
Terrible loss. Derek, please come on our show. We'll be happy to have you. My wife would love that. Anyway, we can talk about Mr. Unlimited now.
Mr. Unlimited.
All right.
You gotta say it the way you want to. You gotta say it the way it's supposed to go.
Unlimited.
I need some more passion.
I don't know. I'm not doing it. That's mine or Steel or something. Anyway, I was iffy about it at first, but it's growing on me. And then also getting Justin Fields as a backup as the future, that is huge. And I think Russell Wilson is the perfect guy for him to learn under.
Yep.
It's pretty similar when you think about it, and when you watch like them play. I mean, Russ isn't the runner he used to be, of course, and he's not ever been what Justin Fields is as a runner. But
it's more elusive, I would say.
Yeah, but the way they play football or the way they play quarterback is kind of the same. So I mean, I think it's a perfect way to do that. And then also with Arthur Smith being there, he's not a quarterback guru guy. So Russell Wilson being an experienced quarterback and being able to run that offense, it's going to be a lot. That's huge. Us bringing in, if Justin Fields would be starting, I don't think it'd be good.
You talk about Arthur Smith. I think that's a good piece to add of why they're on the winning side as well.
Yeah,
not just
I like it now. I like it better now. If we still have Kenny Pickett there, then I wouldn't like it.
But you got to think. So when he was in Tennessee as the OC with Ryan Tannehill, you could argue that Ryan Tannehill at that point in his career and Russell Wilson at this point in his career are pretty similar guys.
Yeah,
Ryan Tannehill and Russell Wilson they used to be more mobile and elusive, I guess, out of the pocket.
Yeah.
But now as they're getting older, you see that they stay there a little bit more. Obviously not as good of an arm talent, but Russell still has that rainbow ball.
Oh yeah,
that he's always had.
Get that ball to Pickens.
So obviously no Deontay.
Yeah, traded him for Dante Jackson
for nothing.
Yeah, but I mean, I was okay with it.
Sure. I'm okay with it too because Dante Jackson, he's a speedy corner.
So he'll be a solid number 2 corner. I mean, you have Joey Porter Jr. on the other side who proved he can.
Oh yeah,
he can
Pro Bowl
lock down anybody. I don't think he.
Pro Bowl sub. I'm pretty sure.
I think so. I think it's Pro Bowl sub, but I mean, that was his rookie year.
Right.
He went from not starting to our top corner, locking down big names, locking down Jamar, locking down DeAndre Hopkins, who, I mean, he's older, but still, I mean, he had a big rookie season.
What about Patrick Queen?
Patrick Queen was a huge signing. When I saw that, I was real excited. Him on that defense now, Cameron Hayward, TJ Watt, Alex Highsmith, Minka, Joey Porter Jr. I mean, that defense is it's looking really good.
Obviously, I like the Steelers a lot this year because I had them winning the division.
Mm-hmm.
Now, and I don't like the Steelers, but with the addition of Patrick Queen, I kind of just saw that as, okay, yeah, Steelers are going to have a good defense. But what the real test is I want to see what happens to that Steelers defense if TJ Watt goes out. Because we've all seen every time TJ Watt gets hurt, which he will at some point, it's inevitable. He's going to get hurt. So are they going to win the games that he's not there with Patrick Queen there now? Or is that move for nothing? Because honestly, that's what that move is for.
Well, it is, but also you got to think on the offensive side of the ball too. You didn't have a quarterback like Russell Wilson to kind of win a game for you. I mean, it's you did stuff on both sides of the ball.
You did.
So I mean, Patrick Queen there, of course, is huge to help that. But I mean, TJ Watt there, I mean, it's going to hurt you no matter what. That's top defensive player in football.
Right.
So, I mean, of course, it's going to hurt you, and the defense is going to look completely different because you have your defense set to what it is when TJ's there. But adding Patrick Queen though is definitely going to help.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
For sure.
They got a lot of key defensive pieces. They got some good offensive pieces. That's why they're in our winners section.
Yeah, and he also had Deshaun Elliott.
That's good safety.
Good safety. Good solid safety. Not anybody who's going to jump off the screen, but he'll come down and hit somebody.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, you got Minka back there ball hawking, whom he'll come up and hit you too. He's been our leading tackler some years.
Bob Sanders 2.0.
Yeah, but I mean, you have added that to a defense that's already looking really good. So I'm really happy with this offseason.
Yeah, as you should be. I think that is enough Steelers talk forever.
It's never enough.
Next on the list, we got the Jacksonville Jaguars. So, it's a sneaky good offseason. Obviously, they lost Calvin Ridley. They lost Zay Jones. But they still have, obviously he's not an elite yet, but they have a promising quarterback, Trevor Lawrence. They got ETN. They got Tank Bigsby. But they added Gabe Davis, who he showed that he can be a solid number 2 or number 3 option in the offense. I have them getting Xavier Worthy as well. So that, adding any receiver to that receiving core as it is will be another good piece to add. And then they had a really sneaky good they had good sneaky good additions on defense as well, and their O-line. So they got Mitch Morse, they got Ezra Cleveland, Eric Armstead on defense, and Darnell Savage on the back end.
That was another one too.
So Eric Armstead, you add him to any team, that's going to be a huge addition.
Yeah, that was a really good signing.
And then obviously offensive line. Trevor Lawrence was taking too many sacks, couldn't have enough time to make a good decision in the pocket. So, what do you think, Bryce?
Yeah, I thought it was like you said, I thought it was a really good sneaky off season for them. They added a few not like huge names but bigger names like Eric Armstead and Gabe Davis. Which I mean, Gabe Davis is gonna be he's consistent number 2 pass catcher, and then Eric Armstead is a great interior defensive lineman.
Right.
So that'll definitely help their defense, help give Trevor Lawrence another solid receiver to throw the ball to. And then, like you said, they might draft a speedy receiver. We'll see in April, but yeah.
Yeah, man. I mean, the Jags gotta compete with C.J. Stroud and the Texans now.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure.
Which is who I want to talk about next on our winners list. They were winners as it was last year.
Mm-hmm.
They had Bobby Slug and they kept him. I'm in love with Bobby Slug and I'm in love with C.J. Stroud. What they've showed as a duo is enough for me to say, it's going to be MVP season for Stroud.
Yeah.
Enough for us to say.
Yeah.
What we agreed on. What other moves they got, Bryce?
You got the Neil Hunter.
That's right.
Big defensive signing. Yep.
When they already have Will Anderson, the rookie of the year.
Mm-hmm.
That's the rookie of the year. And I think they got some help in the back end, too. They got C.J. Henderson, Jeff Okudah, Desmond King. And then Lonnie Johnson, somebody they brought back. The only reason I mentioned Lonnie Johnson is because he was there before, so he knows the defense, he knows the chemistry. Maybe a little bit different with D'Amico Ryans at the helm now, so we'll see on that. But they got one of the best punters in the league, Tommy Townsend, and then Danico Autry on the defense. Offensive. What else did they do on the offensive side?
They got Joe Mixon as running back, which I know you're
Joe
not
Mixon.
huge on, and it's not like a top running back. I mean, probably not even top 10 running back.
Not anymore.
So I mean, he's definitely a solid running back to.
It's a lateral
give them.
move.
It's to give them something to get the ball out of Stroud's hands once in a while. He's also a decent pass catcher. Stroud needs to dump it down, and then they still have who is it? Their other running back,
Dameon Pierce. I love him.
They still have him, who's kind of more like I would say he's more of a power back.
He is, but he's still a smaller dude. He can break tackles.
Yeah,
last year,
for sure.
Just didn't want to use him.
So I mean, you have those two running the ball. I mean, that could help Stroud out a bit, like a lot. So I mean, it's a good. I thought that was a good signing for them.
It was a good sign. It was lateral, in my opinion, a lateral move, which Devin Singletary got the job done last year. Joe Mixon will get it done this year. It's just
I think Mixon's a little bit of an upgrade from Singletary.
He may be this year, but they have him on a 3-year deal.
Yeah,
and he's older now.
We
saw in Cincinnati last year where, yes, Mixon reached the 1,000-yard mark and
barely,
he got the job done. But don't forget the volume that they gave him. Joey B was hurt, but they still gave Joe Mixon a very large workload. And my guess is they didn't want to use Dameon Pierce last year. They're not going to want him using him this year when they got Joe Mixon, who's a bigger name than Devin Singletary.
Yeah.
But, I would say similar skill set. I don't know. I personally feel like the Danielle Hunter, they got Bobby Slowick back. And as long as CJ Stroud's there, this is going to be like another one of those conversations about as long as they have Mahomes there, as long as they have Allen there, whoever the quarterback is that's the elite guy, CJ Stroud's there now too. He's in that discussion, in my opinion at least. All right, I think we covered the Texans enough. Let's finally move on to the Eagles. So just give us your 2,000-yard rusher, Bryce.
Saquon Barkley. Yeah.
Who else?
Added C.J. Gardner-Johnson, re-signed Landon Dickerson, Matt Hennessy, Bryce Huff, Devin White, traded for Kenny Pickett. It's fine with me. And then they added Paris Campbell and Devontae Parker for some wide receiver depth.
Which is all that is.
Yeah, that's all it is.
But obviously the move that stands out is Saquon.
For sure.
There's no way you can even really look at anybody else in their signings before Saquon. They've had good backs in the past, but Howie never wanted to pay the money, pay the big money. And my personal guess is since they eliminated that hip drop tackle, Hugh said, "Yeah, let's go sign Saquon." So it's good, like you said. I mean, he could be a 2,000-yard rusher in Bryce's opinion. I don't think he'll reach that, but he'll have a very very good season.
Yeah, for sure.
And the Eagles, we got them winning the division. Me simply because, well, yeah, they have Saquon, but the Cowboys won it last year. That division hasn't had a repeat winner in 20 years.
As we stated, the NFC East did nothing.
Exactly.
Do anything. That's why. I mean, we had all three of them on here as losers, and then we have the Eagles as a winner, which I think. I mean, they signed some pretty big names. I mean, of course, we said Saquon's the biggest, but you signed C.J. Gardner-Johnson, bring him back. You signed Devin White. You signed Bryce Huff. I mean, you re-signed Landon Dickerson. You keep that line. I mean, you did lose Jason Kelce. That's a really big piece.
I did see something where it said that the backup for Jason Kelce is staying, and he was pretty decent.
Okay.
So we'll see.
I don't know much about him, but
I haven't seen it a whole lot.
It's intriguing for Kelce to come back. I mean,
he won't.
I know he won't. But I mean, he's probably like.
I'd be pissed.
I would be too. But and then they did re-sign Brandon Graham also.
Yeah.
He is older now, but he's
still dominant. The dude's massive.
I feel like he's a very good leader and locker room presence. presence there too.
Good move for the Eagles.
Yeah, big moves for the Eagles.
Next up, let's talk your love language, Bryce.
All right.
The Bears.
The Bears. Yeah, they made some moves. Trading for Keenan Allen, getting DeAndre Swift, Brett Rippin Farts.
No more Nathan Peterman though. So you get ripping farts, or you
You get Rippin Farts, or you get Nathan Peterman. You get 5 interceptions, or you get a few farts.
Yeah.
You got Dante Pettis, Gerald Everett, who he's on the Chargers, right? So the Chargers losing that.
Who is it?
Gerald Everett.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah, so Chargers lost him too.
And I just want to. When I saw them sign Gerald Everett, my first thought, I don't know why, my first thought went to, didn't they get Robert Tonyan from the Packers just like 2 years ago?
Yeah, they did.
And they haven't used.
They
him
haven't.
lit.
Yeah, I don't see him. Yeah, I haven't seen him at all.
They got Cole Kmet.
Eric Komet. I don't know what they're doing. I don't know what they're doing with all those. But I mean, they have tight ends.
3 tight end
too.
sets. Who
I
knows?
mean, yeah, I don't know. Signed Kevin Byard. So I mean,
That's a great move.
It was, but like
and Jalen Johnson.
And they re-signed Jalen Johnson. With Kevin Byard though, I mean, he wasn't big on the Eagles last year when they traded for him. So I mean, is he kind of?
Well, their whole team fell apart. So I don't think you can put that solely.
No, you're definitely right.
Early in the year when he was still on the Titans, he looked dominant like he always has. So I think he'll come back the same.
Yeah,
it's gonna be.
They got a good secondary, and they got a good secondary in Chicago.
And maybe give him some time to learn the defense.
Yeah, get in there
and get the chemistry and everything. Because again, you're going from system to system to system.
Mm-hmm.
It's gonna take some time to learn, but yeah.
But I mean, they made some good moves. Added some offensive line pieces to
DeAndre Swift. What do you think? What do you think of DeAndre Swift? Because
I'm not huge on him because of just his injury history. I don't think he really got injured last year.
I'm not huge on him either, but with Khalil Herbert in the backfield, and then they got some.
He is shifty. He's shifty.
We saw what Deonta Foreman could do last year. He did pretty decent.
Yeah, but they're both very different. They're both very different backs.
Right, but with a bad O line, and now you saw what Swift could do with a good O line in Philly last year, and now you see he's probably gonna have at least good O line this year.
Yeah, but an upgrade from what they did last year. I mean, they had to do something with that offensive line, and then they have first pick. We don't know who that's going to be, and then they have the 9th pick. So I mean, they don't need to go receiver now. So go offensive lineman.
Knowing the Bears, they'll probably get defense.
Or that. I mean,
or another
tight end.
They're
gonna do with that.
Maybe they'll get Brock.
Another tight end.
Brock, Gerald Everett, Robert Tonyan, and Cole Kmet.
Just put them all out there. Why even get
4 tight end sets? You don't even need DJ Moore.
And DJ Moore. Just get him out. Get him out of there. Just run 4 tight ends.
All right. So for our next one, we have the Miami Dolphins, which me personally is the winningest of the winners for the offseason. I feel like every time we got an alert on our phone this offseason, it's like the Dolphins signed this guy. The Dolphins signed this guy.
They just sound a lot.
And they're trading for this one. I mean, they lost Xavier Howard.
Yeah, but he's fallen off.
Older. He's got a big contract, so I get that.
Mm-hmm.
But what were some of their moves, Bryce? I know.
They signed 2 tight ends.
They got rid of Chase Claypool.
Oh wow,
so that's pretty devastating.
Wow, maybe Pittsburgh will pick him back up. Just kidding. Please don't.
But who else did they get?
Yeah, they got 2 tight ends also. So they got Jody Fortson
and Johnny Smith. And then I had them taking Brock Bowers.
Okay.
We'll see.
We'll see what happens. Isaiah Wynn, Shaq Barrett, Jordan Brooks, Kendall Fuller, and then they signed their division rivals.
Jordan Poyer.
Yeah, Jordan Poyer.
But don't forget, when you get Jordan Poyer, you also get Rachel Bush. You look at Isaiah Wynn, I feel like he doesn't get enough recognition as an offensive lineman. He spent the first part of his career with the Patriots. And yes, the Patriots always have a good O-line, I feel like, all through the Brady years and even after. It's just the quarterbacks didn't have the same capabilities that Brady did. So obviously it's not going to look as good. But Isaiah Wynn is a very good O-lineman. Make no mistake. I know they lost Robert Hunt
and Christian Wilkins.
and Christian Wilkins.
So I mean, those are really big pieces they
But
lost.
they did replace. They lost Jerome Baker too.
Yeah. that's true.
So they lost some big pieces, but they added twice as many, I would say.
Mhm.
Shaq Barrett, he's older, but he's gonna be something. He'll take the place of Jerome
Yeah,
Baker.
he'll do.
And then Kendall Fuller, again, older, but take the place of an Xavier Howard. Somewhat
Had some experience in there. Had some experience in that defense.
experience, and then
on
you
that
got
team.
the young guys.
Yeah.
So we'll see, but I really like the Dolphins' offseason moves, and at least because they already had such a strong team.
They did.
They obviously they didn't look like they could play in cold weather.
Yeah, I don't think they're a Super Bowl team still, but I mean they're a team that's going to win games.
Right.
And compete.
They'll be a playoff team.
They'll compete.
We'll put it like that.
Yeah.
But don't forget they gotta fight the Bills and the Jets.
Yeah,
Both
just
of our
in their
division winners.
just in their own division.
Right. But
Yeah.
praying for that
No.
Patriots division win so I can win my bet. But 2 teams left. We'll go with the Dirty Birds. Falcons. So, Bryce, we both like the Falcons, obviously. I feel like everybody likes the Falcons this offseason.
Yeah.
Obviously, the move of Kirk was good, but you're the biggest on them, so why don't you lead us off with this?
Yeah. Just adding Kirk Cousins to that team, of course, makes them a winner. I mean, they're gonna
That alone.
that alone does. That's the big one that's why they're the winner. Yeah, Darnell Mooney and Rondo Moore too. That's kind of just for more wide receivers.
Darnell Mooney, I don't feel like you can mention them in the same breath.
You're right. Darnell Mooney is a bigger name.
Don't forget, I think it was like 2 or 3 seasons ago we were talking about Darnell Mooney. Can he be a number 1?
Yeah, and then
he was a very
I was
good
buying him in fantasy and then let me down, and
right.
I was sad.
Right, but you got Drake London, and then you have Darnell Mooney to pair with him. I feel like that's going to be a great pair.
Pitts too. We'll see what happens with that.
Pitts, yeah. I mean, they could run that. They could very well run that offense.
Mm-hmm.
Like
and your division isn't tough either. So I mean that's I mean, adding Kirk Cousins I think makes you a playoff team in Atlanta.
Panthers, Falcons, Saints, Buccaneers.
Yeah, and I mean the Bucs won that division at 9-8 last year, so
I think they're gonna win it again this year. But
yeah,
don't forget they brought back Baker and Mike Evans. They were almost in my winners just because they brought back
the Falcons didn't have Kirk Cousins.
I get it. I like the Falcons. I'm not gonna argue with you on this because I like the Falcons.
And I'm not the biggest Kirk Cousins fan. I
am. I'm a huge Kirk Cousins fan. It's just the only thing is he's coming off the Achilles.
That's big, but it just him getting the ball to everybody. That offense looks really good with him there. I think they're gonna be really good.
No Cordell Patterson.
Yeah, Pittsburgh guy now. But, yeah. Oh, and then Bijan and Algier. So I mean,
don't even mention Algier. It's Bijan. Bijan
all
now away. No more Arthur Smith, so we don't got to deal with that. For the last team, we are going to keep it in division. Once again, always keeping it in division.
Your favorite team?
No, it's not my favorite. It's somewhat of a sleeper team this year. I'm not saying that they're going to be this great team, win the division, or anything like that. I said that the Panthers would make the playoffs. They would sneak in as a wild card.
Falcons.
The Falcons can make it too.
And the Bucks.
The
whole division's going.
They could. No Saints.
Derek Carr's leading the Saints.
But Panthers, making some really good moves. Obviously, they bolstered that offensive line, which is what we all saw they needed. Bryce Young is a tiny guy, and putting a tiny guy behind a terrible offensive line is definitely not a way to win. That's why they would have had the number 1 pick this year, but they gifted that to the Bears for Bryce Young, but they did go ahead and trade for Deontay.
Yeah, that's a good weapon to get him.
I think that's a very solid weapon. I thought it was a loss for the Steelers too, but getting Deontay, they lost Dante Jackson in that trade, but they got Jordan Fuller and they got Nick Scott, which I know a lot of people probably don't know exactly who those guys are, but they are they were some key pieces to the Rams defense the last few years. Yeah, they had Aaron Donald rushing for them, but there's some solid guys in the back end that to pair with J.C. Horn. They don't have Jeremy Chin anymore.
Lost Brian Burns out of trade.
Lost Brian Burns. But I feel like they focused more on adding offensive pieces this year, and then they added a few more defensive pieces just to help them out. They got Josie Jewell. Like I stated earlier, the Broncos lost him, and I feel like that was a very good addition for whoever got him. And then just this morning they added Jadeveon Clowney.
Yep.
So solid defensive pieces, obviously after losing Brian Burns. But if the Panthers are gonna sneak into the playoffs, this is the way to do it. You gotta make the O-line.
Gotta start making some moves.
Yeah, you gotta make something happen. And with Dave Canales, I'm a believer.
I know you are.
And all these pieces, I'm just saying, watch it. Just watch it.
I watched them win 3 games this year.
You really think?
I don't think they're gonna.
What are you thinking?
They're definitely not winning. At most, they're winning
Think
6
about
games.
You don't think that they could sneak into the playoffs?
No.
Think about
no way.
NFC.
I know the NFC is not as stacked as the AFC. They're not winning that division. They're not winning that division. They're not. I don't know what's happening. I know you have your team you pick every year to make the playoffs.
Yeah, let's just give that a little highlight real quick. 3 seasons ago, I chose the
Bengals, I think, right?
The Bengals to win their division.
Now.
Everybody called me crazy. And they won the division. Okay? And then 2 years ago, I chose the Jags to win their division and win a playoff game. And it was looking like they were about to lose it really bad to the Chargers. Remember that? And then they won.
They did.
And then last year was, I got a little break because Danny Dimes got hurt. But I predicted that, Daniel Jones and the Giants and Brian Daboll would all make the playoffs, have a great season. And I did put in a bet just for money that Daniel Jones would be MVP. But not that I truly believe that last part. But, no breaks anymore. This season it's happening. I got the Cardinals and the Panthers. We'll talk about that.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
That's it. That wraps it up for us, Bryce. We made it through our 2024 free agency winners and losers list. And just to run you back through that real quick, we got the losers as the Chargers, Commanders, Broncos, Giants, Vikings, Cowboys, Raiders, and Bills. And then for the winners section, we have the Jets, Eagles, Steelers, Texans, Jags, Bears, Dolphins, Falcons, and Panthers. And that's it for us, guys. That wraps it up for us. Thank you guys for listening, watching, whatever you're doing. Really appreciate the love. Don't forget to help us reach our goal by liking the videos, subscribe, share with everybody you know, whether they like football or not. But remember the goal. The end goal for us is we want to interview the players, you, the fans, and the coaches. With that said, go ahead and leave in the comments what you want to see for future videos. And thank you, guys. See you.